I wanted to be at Texas State. I chose to be at Texas State. I'm from Texas. That was important to me. I always knew if the right guy got this job, you better watch out.
You better watch out. This is Win Now or Get Bent, episode 193. If you don't already know, I'm Kev Chardello, coming to you on Monday, June 16th, and happy belated Father's Day, everyone. Oh, we've got an extra Father's Day gift for all you dads out there. We've got a pod on this Monday. I'm recording it on Father's Day. It's a nice, quiet house because my wife's like, what do you want to do for Father's Day? And I said, you know what I want to do? I want a pod. So they are at the playground. I'm going to wrap this up. I'll go join them at the playground. But before that, I got lots to talk about with these Bobcats. We're going to do a roster prediction. We've been circling that for the last few episodes. We've been talking about doing one, did one back in January, February, somewhere around then. A lot of things have changed, a lot of new Bobcats, but not as much changed because I had my old one, my old depth chart prediction, and I was comparing it as I was going through it. Not as much change as I anticipated. Still a lot of big changes, but not as different as I thought it would be before we're heading into fall camp. We'll talk about some basketball. We got some track and field update. But before we get there, this episode is brought to you by TGC LLC, thegalindocollective.com. That's Galindo, galindocollective.com, a team of professional consultants dedicated to helping others realize their business potential through people, planning, and practice. Their services cover a wide range of areas such as business strategy, marketing, human resources, and financial planning. If you own property or a business and want to maximize its profitability, contact TGC at thegalindocollective.com and follow their social media platforms on Twitter at TGC_LLC and on Instagram and Facebook at the Galindo Collective. Shout out to my guy, Rick Galindo, a true Texas State sicko, a Texas State grad himself. He has been sponsoring us for the last few years now. We're going into, I think, season 3 with TGC. So shout out to Rick Galindo for sticking with us and staying with us in 2025. Big things ahead coming up with us and TGC LLC. Go check them out for all your professional consultant needs. TheGalindoCollective.com, Galindo, GalindoCollective.com. All right, we'll do a quick one for Wizard Wednesday. Make sure you check out Wizard Wednesday again. The debut of it last week was incredible. A lot of you showed up, you tuned in, you checked out Zachary Webb talking about the Bobcats and if they should go to the Pac-12. It was great stuff. Go check it out again. I know he's got another one cooking for you this Wednesday. I believe it's over NIL. Is the NIL era dead? I believe that's what he's talking about. I know he was considering that topic. I know he's got a bunch of other topics at hand, so I haven't heard it yet. We'll see what he comes up with for this Wednesday. I know he's got some great stuff down the pipeline about quarterbacks, lots of good stuff. I don't want to step too much on it, but check it out this Wednesday, Wizard Wednesday, right here on the Win Now or Get Bent channel. If you're already subscribed, boom, you're already in there for Wizard Wednesday. You'll see it on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, all of that. So check that out, Wizard Wednesday with our great producer, Zachary Webb. All right, let's get to these Bobcats. One more shout out to Webb. What a debut. A lot of you tuned in. I know that made my guy feel real good, giving him lots of more motivation to cook up some more great ideas. So shout out to Zach. Let's get started with some track and field first. Nationals were this weekend. We talked a little bit about it in the mailbag. If you heard that last week, 2-part mailbag from last week. Track and field, Aiden Hayes and Kason O'Reilly tied for second in the long jump in Nationals. Only other Bobcats to make the podium at Nationals. A little guy named Charles Austin, gold medal winner. We know him. He's got a street named after him in San Marcos. And Marion Strong. I tried to look up some stuff on Marion Strong before this, and I couldn't find anything. I didn't look too deep. I just spent a couple minutes, but that's definitely somebody I'm going to look up and see what they have done. But so now 4 Bobcats have stood on the podium at Nationals, and Aiden Hayes and Kason O'Reilly, they tied for second. They both cleared the same amount. I think it was 2.2 meters. I didn't put that in my notes for some reason, but they both cleared the same amount and they tied. So they were both standing up there for second place. So shout out to Aiden Hayes and Kason O'Reilly. Chris Preddy they also earned All-American with that. Obviously, you finished second in nationals, but they earned that with their placing because Chris Preddy placed 14th in nationals in the long jump, and he earned second team All-American. So shout out to Chris Preddy as well. On the women's side, Laura Roberts earned first team All-American in the hammer throw, and Melanie Duran earned honorable mention All-American in shot put. So great showing for the Bobcats. Sunbelt Conference Championship in indoor and outdoor. So lots of great stuff there. Let's jump into basketball real fast before we get into football. It probably won't be real fast because there's a lot of new basketball players. Men's basketball, they announced 9 new players last week. Very timely because I know there was a mailbag question from our good man Goose. He came in and asked us about what are we thinking about basketball and baseball? Are there hot seats going on? And what do they need to do to avoid the hot seat and things like that? We talked about recruiting your own players because a lot of guys have entered the transfer portal. But when they do leave, you got to go out and refresh your roster with more. And boy, did they do that. They went and got 8 transfers, 1 high school signee, 8 transfers is what they announced last week. So we're looking at a whole new squad here. We got Caden Gums coming back. We got Mark Drone coming back. But otherwise, it's going to be a lot of new faces for this basketball team once again. And that's kind of been the issue the last few years. It just feels like it's a clean sweep on the roster year in and year out. And I know it's tough with NIL and everything, but it's hard to really create a cohesive unit, a team that understands each other and has that chemistry built through years of all being in the same system. But I digress. Let's talk about some of these new guys. We'll start with the transfers. Freshman forward Cameron Simpson coming in from Central Florida, listed at 6'7", only played 1 year at Central Florida, did not play, took a red shirt. So he's a freshman coming in, 6'7" freshman. Good height in this class. Senior forward Makai Willis is coming in from Louisiana Monroe, right from in conference. 3 guys coming from the Sun Belt to the Bobcats. Makai Willis listed at 6'7" himself, 29 appearances for the Warhawks, 7 starts last year, 6.2 points per game. Another one of his teammates with the Warhawks, senior guard Jalen Bolden, 6'4" guard, 74 appearances with 56 starts for ULM. A lot of experience from Bolden, 9.1 points per game, including 13.2 last year. So that's a guy. He's coming in with loads of experience. Seems like more of a scoring guard going up there, and they need that. They need points, especially with Caden Gums. He's more of your traditional point guard. Mark Drone, he can really put up those points though as well. So that'll be an interesting situation at guard. Senior guard forward Kendall Davis coming over from Louisiana, the Ragin' Cajuns, listed at 6'8", 15 total appearances in 3 years. Didn't play a whole lot. Oh, I'm sorry. That was 4th. I was getting ahead of myself on the next guy's bio. This is for Kendall Davis, Louisiana. This is his 4th college, 28 games, 18 starts last year, 5.5 points per game for him. Junior forward Jalen Lee coming over for Texas A&M. He's listed at 6'8". He's the one with 15 total appearances in 3 years at Texas A&M. Didn't play a whole lot. Scored about 12 points his entire career there. But it raises your eyebrows when you see a guy coming over from a P4. It's like, well, maybe there's a lot of potential there, untapped potential, a bit of a logjam ahead of him. And he just wasn't able to see the floor. Come to a place like Texas State, you think those opportunities open up a little bit more. So Jalen Lee, 6'8", coming in from Texas A&M. Junior forward Isaiah Behringer coming over from UTRGV, the Vaqueros. He's listed at 6'7", played 40 games at UTRGV, no starts in 3 years, just 2.2 points per game. Didn't play a whole lot for the Vaqueros. Junior forward Tay Knox coming over from Illinois, tallest guy in the class at 6'9", 56 games with 12 starts, playing for the Leathernecks over there, Western Illinois. What a mascot name for Western Illinois, the Leathernecks. 3.6 points per game, 1.2 blocks, 4 rebounds per game. It's a big guy. Didn't play a whole lot. We'll see what his opportunities look like for Texas State. Those are your 8 transfers, and then 1 high school player, Demetrius Thompson, Charles Park High School. That's in Oklahoma. Always like to see a player from Oklahoma. Always makes me think of Mason Harrell, former Gatorade Oklahoma Player of the Year before he became a Bobcat. Have another guy coming over from Oklahoma. So there you go. 9 new players that they announced. Maybe they're not done because they had a lot of players leave, but this is a whole new squad, and it's not anybody that really truly you look at and you're like, oh man, this is going to completely change the team. It's a lot of pieces. It's a lot of a depth. Maybe they gel well together and there's improvement there, but it's another year of a whole nother team for basketball. I want to be positive. I want to think like, hey, you got some guys that maybe just didn't have the right opportunity where they were, and maybe this is that opportunity for them. We shall see, though. We'll hang on for basketball. I saw baseball starting to get some commits as well. That's they'll start getting transfers in. It is a tough deal. This whole NIL era and everything going on. That's what'll be good if on Wizard Wednesday, Zachary Webb, if he does that NIL segment, that's going to be a good one. It was funny when we dropped 3 episodes last week, 2-part mailbag, and then Wizard Wednesday. When we were promoting it before it all came out, there were some conspiracy theorists that are like, oh man, do they know something? They have an episode they're going to drop where the Bobcats are in the Pac-12. It wasn't anything like that. I will say this: if we do have 3 episodes this week, it will be because something happened in that area. It does feel like things are getting closer and closer. If a decision is going to be made with that whole media rights deal, we don't need to spend a whole nother segment. We've talked a lot about the Pac-12. I will say there was a time around the basketball, the Sun Belt tournament for basketball where the rumors were really ramping up, and it seemed like there were even some confident people that were like, they're about to announce, and it wasn't. And that was as close as it got then. That's as close as it feels now. So it feels very close if something's going to come down. All right, let's get to football. Let's talk some roster, some depth chart. Lots of new players, as we said. They've signed 17 since the spring game ended. I know before spring football, they had around 45 signees. They lost some of those. They lost some other players, and they brought in about the same amount. So they're still sitting at around 50 new players, 50 new transfers. Even when you go through the roster, there's a lot of names you're like, oh, I wonder who that is. Just some really good walk-ons that we'll even talk about here. Because with the roster, I have it at least 3 deep at all the positions. Some of them are deeper. One of them that really surprised me that's deeper is interior defensive line. We will talk about that. 2 interior defensive line spots, and I did 5 deep on each side. After combing through the numbers, and who knows? They have some guys listed at DT that might be more of a DN. We'll see how that works out, some of these newer guys, but for right now, we have 5 listed. So we'll start at the top. Quarterback. Always got to start with the quarterbacks. When I did this depth chart prediction, I try to do these. I don't try to do them too often. We'll do another one in fall camp after I see a few practices, and maybe I can start to make some changes. But the one I did before, I had Giovanni McCoy very timidly at number 1, knowing that Brad Jackson, they think really highly of him. We saw him get into some games last year. I still was looking at McCoy, his experiences, all the games he started, and was thinking, okay, that seems like he might be the front runner going into the summer, going into fall camp. Spring practice rolls around. Brad Jackson is the number 1 guy. McCoy's out the door. So how could I not put Brad Jackson number 1 right there? That's who I think is going to be QB1. Been asked a lot who I think is going to be QB1 on the first day for the Bobcats. I think Brad Jackson. How long that lasts, we'll see. But day 1, I think it's going to be Brad Jackson. I think number 2 is going to be Holden Gerner, just based on what I saw in spring. But I will say, number 3, Keldrick Luster. I mean, he's someone I feel like I haven't talked enough about him. I've dove a little bit into him. He doesn't have a ton of stats at SMU, but I could really see him with if there is some questions about who their quarterback is going to be. Are they going to rep a lot of different guys? If there isn't a true number 1 guy, just because Brad Jackson starts game 1, may see multiple other quarterbacks throughout that game. So we've seen GJ Kinney not afraid to play multiple quarterbacks, even with RJ Martinez last year. We talked about Brad Jackson getting in, but he had other backups that he wasn't afraid to play, even if the game wasn't necessarily out of hand. Granted, that may have been more a necessity. That's the word I was trying to get out there, because Jordan McLeod may have been banged up when we were seeing RJ Martinez. But you never know. So Keldrick Luster, watch out for him. And then Nate Yarnell, of course, he's from Pitt. He's not in the top three, the three depth chart that I listed. Just don't know exactly what's going on with that situation, but he is still here, and I know he's a pretty capable quarterback. So interested to see what happens there. And then Gavin Parkhurst coming in, the high school player. Shout out to my guy Varric on Twitter. He sent me a DM of Tyler Jones is in senior year of high school with bleached hair, and then told me Gavin Parkhurst also has the bleached hair. So maybe Parkhurst is the next Tyler Jones at Texas State. I like it. We had Cole Niles as maybe the next David Mayo. We had that in the mailbag last week. And now we have as Gavin Parkhurst, the next Tyler Jones. This is that sweet, sweet summer content that I always talk about this time of year, where it's just, you just gotta, you're reaching in your own mind. Make sure we all stretch so we don't pull a muscle with some of these reaches we do. But I'm every bit as guilty of it. Could this guy be that? You never know. But that's how I'm looking for the quarterback room. Brad Jackson 1, Gurner 2, Keldrick Luster 3, possibly Nate Yarnell 3. We'll see what's going on with that one. I imagine they're going to want to redshirt Parkhurst. But we said that about Brad Jackson last year. He did get the red shirt, but he got in there and scored some touchdowns in 3 games. Let's go to running back. Number 1 running back for me, Lincoln Perry. I've stayed pretty steady on that one. Even though we didn't see him in the spring game, we heard he was banged up. Who knows if that may have just been cautionary. And I'm not trying to get your best players hurt in a spring game, so you're not really tackling and all that stuff. So Lincoln Perry, though, led the team in rushing in 2022, missed all of 2023, came back last year, was terrific for the Bobcats, MVP after the bowl game. G.J. Kinney was saying after that game, Lincoln Perry, he's going to be the team captain going into 2025. So how can he not be the number 1 back in that running back room? Beyond him, it gets a little more interesting. I have number 2, Greg Burrell from UNLV. He's coming in. He's a big guy, a bit of a bigger back, brand new on the scene, hasn't been in the system. But when I look at him, I think of like Deion Hankins and what he was able to do and how they were able to get him some reps along with Ish Mahdi. Number 3, I have Torrance Burgess or Jalen Jenkins, 2 guys that showed up last season for the Bobcats. Both of them had dynamic runs. Both of them had some issues holding on to the ball, so we didn't see them a whole ton throughout the rest of the year. They are back after possibly being able to enter the portal. I feel like Jenkins may have flirted with entering the portal, and he is back. Both of them are very capable players. We've seen some speed from Torrance Burgess. I know looking at from the tape from Washington State with Jalen Jenkins, he can be a bit of a scat back, somebody who's even a pass threat out of the backfield. So it'll be those four running backs between Perry, Burrell, Burgess, Jenkins, 4 different backs. So, and we know they like to use a lot of backs. And I think they're going to run the ball more this year. So I think we're going to see those guys. I have a little note just for Cole Pryor, the true freshman coming in from San Antonio, a local product. I think he might get some carries as well because that's all who's listed is those 5 running backs right now. I imagine that'll change. It's pretty low, especially for G.J. Kinney when he's been quoted as a Gus Malzahn disciple. He likes to use 5 to 7 running backs. So only 5 on roster is pretty interesting. I imagine that will change. Let's go to wide receiver. I have 3 wide receiver designations and then slot wide receiver designation. Number 1 wide receiver, I think it's going to be Chris Don Jr. or Bo Sparks, 2 returners. They didn't blow the doors off anything with stats last season, but they sure were special in little chunks. I mean, actually, now I think about it, I know I'm sure I have some stats right here if I just riff for a second. Yes, here we go. Some Chris Don stats. 6 touchdowns last year. Yeah, absolutely. 37 catches, 418 yards, 6 touchdowns for Chris Don Jr. last season. And that's coming off the bench. That's playing with a lot of guys like Joey Hobart, Jaden Williams, 2 guys who are trying for the NFL, Cole Wilson, who's off playing for Baylor right now. Those are 3 really good players, and Don was still able to get in there and catch 6 touchdowns. And then for Bo Sparks, 25 catches, 271 yards, 2 touchdowns, some real special things in punt return that game with 2 80-yard returns. I think that those 2 guys have earned their spot. There are a lot more receivers, so it will be interesting to see how they work this rotation. but I think you're going to see Chris Don and Bo Sparks out there quite a bit. I have a list of tall wide receivers as well. Right on top of that is Kylan Evans coming in. He's got a single digit now this year. He was a true freshman last year. Not a ton of height, but all the height is young guys. That's what's interesting. So Kylan Evans, I think he's going to break his way into the starting lineup. I think I could see like Chris Don, Kylan Evans, and then this next guy, Tyquilin Mims, coming over from SMU at receiver. Now there's a lot of new receivers and haven't seen any of them yet, seen what they can do because they've signed them since spring. Even when we got to see some receivers running routes at the spring game, it's a different situation now. In fact, even when going through the list, I realized Shamar Kirk, the Miami transfer, he's no longer even on the roster. He must have left sometime between right now and when the spring game ended. But Shamar Kirk, he's off to Austin Peay. Very quietly, he left, but he came over from Miami. You see a school like that, a P4, the Hurricanes, you think something of it, but he's gone. So he's not on roster. I say he's gone. He's just not on roster. Maybe something's still being worked out there and they just need to get him on there. But for right now, he's not on that roster, so he's not on my list. Same with Junior Thornton. That was a high school player they brought in from last year, and he's not on there. That was on my list before. So that's why I think Tyquilin Mims, he's going to get in there. And at that slot receiver, I have Tyron Smith, although I think they could do a situation where they play Chris Don at slot receiver and put Bo Sparks out wide. Maybe even Bo Sparks could play a little slot receiver himself. It will be interesting to see how they spread these guys out and where they put them. But Tyron Smith coming over from UTEP, real deal speedster. We've talked about him. They were able to bring him in after he committed and then he wasn't with the signing class, wasn't listed with them. And we asked about that situation, didn't get a clear answer, but he is back. So Tyron Smith, I fully expect him to get in there. And even Tyquilin Mims, who I mentioned earlier, I could see him getting in at that slot receiver spot. But out wide for backups, you have Maven Anderson coming over from Cal. You have Jordan Martin, who was a true freshman last year. LJ Johnson coming over from Texas Tech. You have Drew Edwards coming over from Abilene Christian. Almost called it Arizona Christian. I've got Arizona State on the mind, ASU. It's not a ton of receivers. Even with these new guys coming in, they do not have a lot. I mean, at my slot receiver position, I'm naming two guys in that list of three that I've put in other places at receiver because you're having to spread guys around. The young, tall receivers, Julius Spencer, Skylar Lewis, Tucker Cusano, all over 6 foot. But again, true freshmen, we haven't seen anything out of them. Also, I put a maybe by Arvis Battle at wide receiver. That is a true freshman tight end that is coming in. They've talked a lot about being a pass catcher. Doesn't seem like he's the prototypical blocking tight end. They do seem to like to use their tight ends to block, and they want to utilize his pass catching ability. Maybe they put him out wide as a big, tall receiver. Receiver, if there is a position on either side of the field, I am concerned about it is receiver. That is the one where I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen there. They lost a lot of good players, and we'll see if they made up for it in the transfer portal. You see some of them on paper, like, yeah, that should work. But won't know until we see it out there. Tight end, I mentioned Arvis Battle a little at tight end, but I think the starter for at tight end is going to be Blake Smith coming in from OU. Was on the team last year. I believe he was dealing with some injuries and everything. But Ty Stammy also, he transferred in, brand new player from Louisiana, 6'6", big kid. I think he's gonna get in there and play a lot. Who knows, even if they use that 12 personnel, they want some double blockers or double pass catchers. It's always fun. Maybe they want they'll bring both of them in. Titus Lyons is back. Always like to see him. He's been on this team for a long time. He's definitely well-versed in this scheme and everything. It's great to see him coming back for 2025. Those are the top three tight ends that I believe are going to be on the depth chart. Below them, though, there's still some true freshmen. Arvis Battle, I mentioned Jake Simpson, Jordan Williams, Roy Williams' son. We talked about him a little bit last year. We'll see if any of the young guys will be able to break through the rotation. Offensive line, left tackle, I have Dorian Strawn, 6'6", 315 pounds. He's returning. I think that's a pretty easy deal to notch him at left tackle, unless they decide they want to shore up some other position. They want to move him out of left tackle, but I think it's pretty safe to say we'll see him at left tackle. Number two, at left tackle, I have Alexander Grimmy coming over from Jones College, 6'5", 285 pounds. And then behind Grimmy, I have Sully Burns coming over from Tulane, and Bammy Badusi's been here I think it's his third year now, coming over. All big guys. Sully Burns, 6'7", 309 pounds. Badusi, 6'6", 317 pounds. They have a lot of size options at left tackle. That's why they might get interesting because, I was, this time last year, I was ready to pencil in Nash Jones at left tackle, and then they move him inside to guard. So, who knows what they decide to think was strong, because that versatility is massive. When these guys are trying to get to the next level and they're trying to play in the NFL, that's what they look at with these offensive linemen. Can you play across the board? Nash Jones even said it. You can go back and watch when we did our Pro Day series. We went to Pro Day. I got to ask Nash Jones about that, about the versatility, and he said it was very important. And now we see him; he's playing for the Chargers, so it works out. But for now, Dorian Strawn at left tackle. At left guard, I have Emeka Abibo, 6'5", 357 pounds. We know Emeka Abibo, his twin brother. He left. I believe he went to Arizona State, if I have that right, if I'm remembering correctly. But Emeka is still here, and I think he's going to start at guard. But right behind him, I have Brock Riker, a young guy, 6'4", 290 pounds. I also have center potential in parentheses right next to his name, because I know, at least in the depth area for center, maybe trying to figure some things out. And I think he's a player that's smart enough to get in there and take on that role. Behind Brock Riker, another young guy, Tyler Norris, 6'4", 296 pounds. Moving over to center, I have Ezra Dotson Oyatade. I got to get that name down. Ezra Dotson Oyatade. I did a pod. Shout out to the G5 Hive. Look out for that coming in the next week. Did a nice long, it was over an hour talking about the Bobcats. I was in heaven, and I messed up his name again. Luckily, the host had a roster right there. He helped me out. But Ezra Dotson Oyatade, he transferred in from TCU right before the season started, so we didn't see a ton of him. With Chase Todd out the door, I really think we're going to see more of Ezra. 6'3", 290 pounds at that center position. Behind him, Justin DeLeon, who I also think could work his way into the starting rotation. We'll see how that competition works. 6'3", 315 pounds, third year with the Bobcats. He was initially a Baylor commit. I've been waiting to see when he breaks through and gets into this rotation with the Bobcats. Behind them, that's where I don't really know. That's why I have Brock Riker, maybe at the third center, an emergency center, if you will. I decided to list some other guys that are on the roster where I didn't know exactly where to put them, so maybe they can be the emergency center. Aiden Rhodes and Preston Ward. Aiden Rhodes, 6'3", 283 pounds. Preston Ward, 6'2", 265 pounds. Possibly that emergency center position. Right guard, we have Talik Lockett. We know him. We know Talik Lockett, second year with the Bobcats, transferred over from ULM. He was all Sunbelt at ULM, came over to the Bobcats. He's one of their highest graded offensive linemen on Pro Football Focus and some of these other draft websites. 6'3", 327 pounds. I think he's pretty solidified at that right guard spot. But again, like we said with Nash Jones, somebody who does have potential to be drafted like Talik Lockett. Maybe they decide they want him to show off that versatility on tape to help him out. So, but for now, right guard, I'd put him right there. Number two, Amir Ross, young guy, 6'5", 370 pounds, 370 pounds. Big guy. I wonder if that's a weight they want to keep him at, if they want him to lose some. May want him to gain some. Let's get to 400. No, I doubt that. But that is a big guy. I know he's a true freshman, but I imagine he'll work his way in there. Number three, Kirk Gilden, another young guy, 6'6", 285 pounds. I think he's going to get in there at guard as well. They'll be competing for backup, though, if they are playing behind Talik Lockett, because Talik Lockett will be the starter there. Right tackle is a little more open with Alex Harkey off to Oregon. The rumors of how much money he got from Oregon are pretty fun. But right now, on my list at right tackle, I have Lysander Moello. Sorry about that, Lysander, if I said your first or last name wrong. He's coming over from Syracuse, though, 6'6", 360 pounds, big guy. Started career at Navarro. Played defensive line last year at Syracuse. Started out as an O-lineman in 2023, switched to D-line last year. Didn't play a whole lot, couple tackles. But now he's back to playing offensive line. So it'll be interesting to see because I think that's a true competition at that right tackle spot. Below him, though, I have Cameron Schultz at number 2. He's Alan Grimmie's teammate from Jones College, 6'4", 280 pounds. He had a lot of really good offers when he joined the Bobcats. Number 3, I have 2 guys at the 3rd spot at this right tackle spot. Again, I think it's a pretty open competition where any of these 4 guys that I'm naming could really get in there and take over the starting spot. I mean, we saw where it was an open competition last year between Alex Harkey and Trenton Scott all the way up until game 1 when Harkey ran away with it and didn't let go of it. It's kind of the same situation here. But Ian Langford, he came over from Trinity Valley Community College in 2023. And Anthony Crease, he just joined the team. He's played at Kentucky, Navarro, and University of Texas Permian Basin. Ian Langford is 6'5", 310 pounds. Anthony Crease is 6'6", 316 pounds. A lot of size on this offensive line. And I think that's, if they're going to run the ball, which it seems they might run the ball a lot more, I should say, they're obviously going to run it at least a few times. But having these road graders, these big offensive linemen, and having the depth, even when you lose guys, you lose Nash Jones, you lose Chase Todd, you lose some of these great players, it's great to supplement the depth chart with more size. All right, let's switch to defense. We're going to go for the defensive line, and there's a lot of guys. This is what we've known from GJ Kinney and this coaching staff. They stockpile defensive linemen, interior, defensive ends, edge brushers. They like to have a plethora to attack the quarterback. They like to pin their ears and go after the quarterback, as we've seen. So at edge, let's start with Khalil Alexander. He's in his 3rd year with the Bobcats, was sparingly in the rotation in 2023 with GJ Kinney that first year, did good things in that first responders bowl that the Bobcats won. Got in there, was starting more games last year. 5 starts last season, led the team in tackles for a loss with 11 and sacks, 6.5 in just his 5 starts. So after a little bit in the rotation his first year, even more in the rotation last year, I think he takes over as a starter this year. Even with all these new guys coming in that we're about to talk about, I think it's Khalil Alexander's year. 6'3", 220 pounds, Khalil Alexander at that edge spot. Behind him, I have Tymir Jackson. We haven't seen a ton of him, 6'5", 235 pounds, but he's a player that the coaches were hyping up even in fall camp last year. And I know he's someone who I think they're going to give more of a chance. They give him number 0, that nice single digit. So I think Tymir is going to get in there quite a bit. 3 on my list of edge rushers, I have Blake Isbell, high school player, 6'3", 235 pounds. And number 4, Dante Keys, 6'3", 215 pounds. Both of those guys coming in, young guys. Let's go to the other defensive end spot. I have Jalazen Landry coming back as that starting defensive end. 6'3", 245 pounds. We really saw his role increase last year. I think it's going to be increased even further this year, although I will say this other guy that I'm about to name is right there with him. Kennard Snyder coming over from Iowa State, played at ULM before as well. 6 foot, 248 pounds. A lot of experience. So it'll be a young guy and a real experienced guy right there at that defensive end spot. And then behind him, at defensive end, I have Simeon Garner, 6'3", 240 pounds. He's also a high school player. Let's go to the interior defensive line position, which I was pretty surprised. Now, granted, I was scrolling the roster, and there's a lot of guys who are listed at DL that might be listed at D-end at some point. But for now, they're listed at defensive lineman, defensive tackle. And we know with this 4-2-5 defense, they want 4 down linemen. So number 1 at defensive tackle, I have Cameron Washington. He's a returner. They gave him the single digit as well. 6'2", 290 pounds. One of the few returners in this interior defensive line. I think he's gonna be their number 1 guy there. Behind him, though, I have Jordan Sanders coming over from Cal Poly, 6'4", 285 pounds. Big guy himself. Kyron Bruda coming over from Arizona State, one of 2 Arizona State defensive linemen. 6'3", 295 pounds for Kyron Bruda. I also have JP Dieter, another Arizona State player, 6'3", 280 pounds. I could even see Dieter getting in there at that defensive end spot. You know, that's why it might be, you don't really know exactly where to designate some of these D linemen. You just know that all the guys that I'm naming, they're going to play. They're going to deploy the whole unit. Number 5 there, we have Jarvis Bell, 6'1", 260 pounds. At the other D tackle spot, I have Tavarik Woods. I think he's really going to break in and potentially be a starter coming over from Haynes Community College, a JUCO guy coming over, 6'3", 290 pounds. Same with Charlie Leota coming over from West Texas A&M. Neither one is from a big school, big reputable school, but I really I love the grit that comes with these JUCO guys or these guys that get their chance after being at a smaller school, especially one like a West Texas A&M. I think that they're going to do a lot. You always see them come in. If they're not too big for the moment, they're ready to be here. Charlie Leota, though, 6'3", 370 pounds, another 370 pounder. Boy, they got some big guys. Below Leota, we have Emma Police Lange. He came over from Houston in 2023. He played some last year. I know he had some issues where he was suspended. He's 6'6", 312 pounds. It seemed like he was in the portal and he was gone, but you pull up the roster, number 99 right there, big number 99. So I'm sure they're going to want to get him into the mix. Behind Lange, I have Bryce Carter, a Virginia transfer, brand new on the scene, 6'3", 274 pounds. Another guy who possibly could be more of a defensive end, but for right now, he's at defensive tackle. And number 5, Michael Ngocha. Sorry if I said your last name wrong. We'll learn how to say it in fall camp, I promise. Michael Ngocha, 6'5", 312 pounds. He's somebody who may be way too low on this list as well. That's why this 1 through 5 list for any of those defensive tackle spots, I just named 10 names for you at interior defensive line, 10 names for 2 spots. They are deep at that interior D line. I was really concerned about it when you see guys like Tavian Coleman, Terry Webb, when they're out the door, some players that were real instrumental over the last 2 years with this defensive line. It's like, oh man, how are they going to make up in that interior D line? Mike O'Gwen, the defensive line coach for the Bobcats, went out and recruited his tail off and brought in some big guys, and a whole lot of them. Hats off to looking at the depth on the defensive line, because it was a bit of a question mark for me. And on paper, it looks great. You have the depth. We'll see how it all shakes out when it all looks together. But it looks great on paper. I'm excited to see it in the fall camp and into the season. Let's go to linebacker. Just 2 linebacker spots, 4-2-5 defense. Traylon Payne, one of the few returning players who had his experience in this 4-2-5 scheme. So I think he's going to make his way into the starting unit. The other starting linebacker, though, Michael Boudin III, switching from defensive back to linebacker, and they're real excited about that. They got to we spoke with him after the spring game, brought him out to the podium, press conference, the whole deal. So they're pretty excited about him switching to linebacker. Behind Payne, I have Ashton Heflin. He's transferring over from Marshall, Georgia Tech, could very easily take a starting position as well. Below Heflin, it's a younger guy, Terrence Cooks, played some at TCU, Texas, hasn't played a whole lot at the collegiate level. So I think he may need to work his way into the lineup, but who knows, could get there quick. But the same situation I just said for Cooks, for Chance Johnson coming over from Texas A&M. I have him behind Boudin at that interior linebacker spot. And then behind Johnson at the 3rd linebacker, I have Aiden Jones from Prairie View A&M, another JUCO guy. Like I said, like to see those guys come in hungry. Some other high school guys, we have Colt Sparks, TJ Burkhalter, Cole Niles, as we mentioned. Someone compared him to David Mayo last week. Big guy, 6'4", 250. I believe Colt Sparks was a quarterback in high school. Same with Carson Kaiser, who transferred over from New Mexico State, but then transferred over, was a QB. Now he's playing linebacker for the Bobcats. So interesting situation there. A lot of moving parts at that interior linebacker spot. If there's a position I'm concerned about on defense, it's that one. I'm not as concerned as I am at wide receiver, but it is one that's you just got to see what it shakes out to be, who their 2 guys that they're really going to lean on end up being. Star position, this one is a lot of unknown for me here because they moved Boudin, who played at that star position last year. Caleb Coleman, he's out the door. He transferred away. We know Jordan Polk. He's trying out for the Patriots right now. Shout out to Jordan Polk. So there's some unknowns at this star position. Who exactly is even going to play there? I have two new guys that I don't even know if they're looking at for star position. So if I'm guessing, my biggest guesses, and with the least I know about who they're looking at personnel wise, there is at the star position, because my number one don't even know if they're looking at him for a star or where they're looking at him on defense. Don Terry Russell. They have him listed as an athlete. He's a new player, P4 transfer. He's listed there. He's not listed anywhere at a position. He's just listed as the athlete designation. In fact, I'm going to go double check because I haven't re-looked at the roster today, because you never know. Sometimes they update it pretty frequently over the summer. I mean, as we know, we've gone over it quite a bit, how many times they've done it. Of course, it's taken forever to load. Yeah, here we go. Okay, let's see you. Where are you at? Where are you at, Mr. Russell? Don Terry Russell. He is coming over from Mississippi State. Yeah, I knew it was a big school. Don't know why I was blanking on that. 6'4", 225 pounds, linebacker at Mississippi State. Could be looking at that star position, as we've seen with Michael Boudin. They like a bigger guy at that spot. So maybe that's where they're looking at him. Don Terry Russell possibly at that star position. He's pretty new. They just announced him not too long ago. And then below him, I have Javis Minette, who is also a new transfer coming over from Wofford. He's possibly more of a safety, but I look at the way he plays and everything, I could see them maybe putting him at that star position. So that'll be an interesting one, who they're looking at for that nickel back. Cornerback, this is another one, just like interior defensive lineman, 5 deep at cornerback. My number one at corner on one side is Jaden Lawton. Haven't seen him on the roster. Don't know if I'm just missing that one by chance. If you never know. He's a JUCO player. He had a ton of offers. We'll see how that one works out, where sometimes they can't officially put them on the roster until they're in. And, sometimes there's issue with junior colleges. But if it's not Jaden Lawton, I have Jane Rios right there, another new player, East Texas A&M coming in. They gave him number 9, so I know they think highly of him. They're giving him that single digit, even though he's a new player. I have Trez Moore behind Rios. Trez Moore led the team in interceptions off the bench coming in there, because we remember it was Joshua Eaton and Chris Mills were the starting corners. Eaton's off to Michigan State. Mills, he graduated and moved on. So Trez Moore has got a lot of experience. He can get in there as well. Malik Willis, another new player himself, and Amarian Atwood, who's been here the entire time with G.J. Kinney, came in from high school. Maybe they'll start to give him more of a chance this upcoming year. And I know they think really highly of Amarian Atwood. But the other corner position, Kamari Terrell from Oregon coming over. Then you can pencil him as a starter. Craig Royal Jr. coming over from Butler Community College. Caden Grogan, we saw some of him last year. He was a Lamar transfer. Could see him. Christopher Jones, as a player, was a true freshman last year. Didn't see a ton of them. And then I actually have 2 guys at the 5th spot. So we have 11 corners that I have. Maybe they'll break some guys up and put them at that nickel spot, put them at safety. But right now there's a lot of corners. And Cordarian Powell and Greg Gibson are young guys I have at that 5th corner spot. I know Cordarian Powell, that's somebody that G.J. Kinney has raved about, one of the highest praise as far as the true freshman he brought in. I would say from defensive standpoint of the true freshmen, the high school signees, he raved the most defensively about Powell, and then he raved the most offensively about Arvis Battle, the big player that I could see him potentially playing some wide receiver. But yeah, a lot of corners coming in for the Bobcats. At strong safety, I have Darius Jackson. He's in his 3rd year coming over, transferred from Mizzou. Behind him, I have Chase Davis. He's transferring in from Utah State. And below him, I have Will Mitchell, who came in as a true freshman last year out of high school. At free safety, I have Bobby Crosby, played a lot of ball for the Bobcats. Below him, I have Ryan Nolan, who I think we've seen a lot of Ryan Nolan. I think he can get in there and start and make some noise for sure. I like Ryan Nolan quite a bit. And I even like the guy below him, Tice Williams, who came in as a true freshman It's just we saw, Torrey Spears, Caleb Culp. There was a lot of safeties over the years. And Sean Holton, who I'm pretty sure Sean Holton 2023, if you guys remember that name, pretty sure he's a GA now for Texas State, which is pretty great. I feel like I saw that on social media and meant to look it up, and I'm just now remembering as I'm going through the safeties they've had. But we know Dexter McCoyle, defensive coordinator for the Bobcats. He is a former safety himself in the NFL. So he likes his safeties, gets some good play out of them. We saw that last year. We'll switch to special teams just for a little bit. Kick returner, I'm thinking Tyron Smith or DJ Taylor. DJ Taylor is a name we haven't named yet. He's a transfer coming over from, I think it was at Arizona State last year, and he played at Cincinnati before. I didn't put those notes by his name, but DJ Taylor, he was a special teams maven at those schools. So I really think he's going to break through there. But same with Tyron Smith, the speedster at that kick returner spot. Punt returner, I mean, I feel like they got to give it back to Bo Sparks after what we saw from him last year. 2 games with 80 or 2 80-yard returns in 1 game. But then you have Tyron Smith and DJ Taylor. I think they can also compete for that punt returner spot. Three pretty good returners, it seems like, coming in. Bo Sparks, we already know about. Smith and Taylor are new. New players at kicker and punter. Tyler Robles, I think he's going to be their starting kicker out of Southern California, the Trojans. Their kickoff man might be James that we talked about. He played here for the Bobcats before, went to Tarleton last year. Now he's back. Mike James. Then punter Nick Salmon coming over. An Australian, another Aussie punter. But there you go. Depth chart predictions. It's fun. It's a lot of names, huh? Did you write them all down? Are you keeping up with it? Don't worry. I'll hang on to this list, and we'll check it when we get closer to the season, how we're looking with all that. Subject to change, very much subject to change. But that's how we're thinking it's going to shake out. And if you're wondering, man, that was a lot of names that I haven't heard of or I'm not super familiar with. That's what I mean when I talk about how much turnover is more turnover than either of the first 2 years of GJ Kinney for this year. It is a brand new squad across the board. All right, but that'll do it. That'll wrap us up here. Make sure you check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/winnoworgetbent. Check out our merch site, WNOGB.com. I've got the Mad Cat on right now. If you're watching on YouTube, like, subscribe, comment. You can see me wearing this Mad Cat shirt. We got lots of good swag for you at WNOGB.com. Make sure you check out our YouTube channel if you aren't. Win Now or Get Bent on YouTube. If you're an audio head like myself and you like to listen to pods on the audio format, put in a headphone and listen as you go on Apple, Spotify, wherever you're at. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you comment, make sure you give us a nice rating, whatever you want to do. Help us grow any way that we can. Follow us on Twitter at WinNowOrGetBent and on Instagram at WNOGB. Big thank you to TGC LLC. Thank you to the Wizard Zachary Webb. Check out Wizard Wednesday coming up on this channel. Look for that again. And of course, thank you, sickos, for tuning in, even in the dog days of summer, where we are reaching for content. You are still here to chat with us and listen to everything. Gosh, the comments on Wizard Wednesday are fantastic. Appreciate everyone doing all that kind of stuff. It's awesome to go through and hear from everybody. Hear from a lot of Pac-12 people as well. That's the fun part. It got into their hands. It's a little more polarizing for them than it is for us, it seems. But thank you, sickos. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate everyone out there. Win now or get bent.